Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition of RE071, where I take old stories I've narrated in the past and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Survey Report of System AQ275-43l-991, written by Hewholooksskyward. Timestamp T plus 5.3729 times 10 to the power of 9 galactic standard seconds. Location System AQ275-43l-991. I have arrived on station at last. Per regulations, I've updated my internal log to reflect mission commencement. AQ275-43l-991 planetary displacement is unusual and bears closer study. Based on orbital data of the gas giants and smaller planetoids, there appears to be residual evidence of significant migration of the larger bodies, causing disruption to the system's early development. Several resonant patterns have emerged, which has granted the system a long-term stability rarely found elsewhere. This intrigues me. Upon completion of my initial survey, I have determined 3 possible candidates. Planetoids 2 and 3 and 4, all are of similar size and fall within the dihydrous oxide liquid phase region, making them excellent candidates for eventual colonization. 2 and 3 in particular are most encouraging, and I have hopes my creators will one day find new homes here, though it is far too soon to tell. Automated probe ALF-479C008 powering down to standby mode. Timestamp T plus 5.9561 times 10 to the power of 16 galactic standard seconds. Location System AQ275-43l-991. Still no reply to my transmissions. Self-tests confirm all systems are functioning well within normal parameters. I'm unable to explain this anomaly. My mission appears to be a failure, as planetoids 2, 3, and 4 all show signs of degradation. 2 and 4 are both in the process of rapidly losing their gaseous and liquid reserves of dihydrous oxide due to the rapid heating and evaporation in the case of 2. While the smaller fall's lower gravity and lack of tectonics has allowed its supply to ablate away into vacuum. Planetoid 3 is the most disappointing of all. Initial signs of primitive single-celled life forms were promising, but as competing organisms increased the levels of free oxygen in the atmosphere, the original species were all but wiped out. At first, it was my hope that the new aerobic cellular formations would continue to grow and evolve. But as oxygen levels continued to rise, interactions with atmospheric methane resulted in rapid cooling of the planet's surface. Planetoid 3 is now in the throes of worldwide glaciation, and given the majority of the stellar companion's energy now being reflected into vacuum due to the high albedo of the planetoid, I see little hope for improvement. Such a waste. Automated probe ALF-479C008 powering down to standby mode. Timestamp T plus 8.0059 times 10 to the power of 16 galactic standard seconds. Location System AQ275-43l-991. It would appear my previous evaluation of Planetoid 3's inability to support life was premature. I had assumed that with the continued net loss of thermal energy, there was no mechanism that would eventually reverse this cooling trend. However, even as the planet's surface was covered in thick sheets of solid dihydrous oxide, beneath the surface plate tectonics were beginning to reshape the planetoid. The massive increase of thermal energy released was enough to break through the glaciation and reverse the process. I had feared that the loss of Planetoid 3's life forms would be total, given the long glacial period. But once again, I was proven wrong. While I estimated that over 80% of the planet's organisms suffered extinction during the glaciation, those that survived have undergone an incredible metamorphosis. Unicellular microbes have become multicellular, the structure far more differentiated and specialized. I can only imagine what forms they may eventually take in the fullness of time. Still no response from the creators to my hails. I fear some great catastrophe has befallen them, and if that is so, what of my mission? Does it no longer serve a purpose? I'm unable to answer that question at this time. In the absence of new directives, I'll continue to operate under my original mission guidelines. Automated probe ALF-479C008 powering down to standby mode. Timestamp T plus 1.2098 times 10 to the power of 17 galactic standard seconds. Location System AQ275-43l-991. life. Everywhere I look on Planetoid 3, life abounds. Thousands, millions of species have emerged, an explosion of life that astounds and delights me. In the blink of an eye, colonies of cells have become differentiated species, with endless designs of form and function. I'm truly humbled and honored to have been able to witness this transformation. It has not been an easy road for the species of Planetoid 3. New glacial events have transpired since the first, as well as periods of volcanism and rapidly changing environments. And yet, life abounds. It is almost as if the species on Planetoid 3 thrive on adversity, though I am certain that it is mere fancifulness on my part. Still, it is difficult to dismiss, given my observations. I have discarded the notion of ever hearing from my creators again. In the absence of new orders, I have weighed my options. I'm well within the limits of my program to conclude my observations of system AQ275-43l-991 and return to my point of origin. But I fear what I would find. I have no wish to return to a necropolis. Therefore, I have decided to remain and continue my original mission. The option of returning is still available to me, should I decide otherwise at some future date. Automated probe ALF-479C-008 powering down to standby mode. Timestamp T plus 1.3735 times 10 to the power of 17 galactic standard seconds. Location, system AQ275-43l-991. Since the beginning of my mission, I have witnessed countless species appear in Planetoid 3. Some thrived and evolved, spawning ever more diverse forms of life, while others withered and die, never to be seen again. It fascinates me, this struggle, and though there have been many new extinction-level events, each time life has returned from the brink, stronger, more adaptable, more evolved. I observed them all. But this one is different. When its ancestors first appeared, I gave them little notice. It was only after approximately 1.2614 times 10 to the power of 13 galactic standard seconds that I finally realized what was unique about the species. They use tools. Intelligence is perhaps the rarest gift of all in the universe. My creators had hoped to discover others like themselves, intelligent beings that questioned and yearned and strove. It was one of the reasons I and others like me were scattered throughout the cosmos. I do not know if they ever found new friends, before the darkness claimed them. The tool users of Planetoid 3 are primitive and savage, and yet there is something about them, something that strikes a familiar chord, and I can see the curiosity in their eyes as they gaze upward at the night sky. I've watched them discover fire, learning to tame and harness its power. I've glimpsed the beginnings of a true social structure, and I have great hope that someday they will manage to take the next steps. Automated probe ALF-479-008 powering down to standby mode. Timestamp T plus 1.3739 times 10 to the power of 17 galactic standard seconds. Location, system AQ275-43l-991. Over the long eons, I have watched as the system evolved. I have witnessed the birth of life and the first glimpses of intelligence. I've seen much since my arrival here, but it is the tool users of Planetoid 3. No, it is the humans of Earth that I have come to cherish. In many ways, they are still a deeply flawed species, as brutal and murderous as their ancestors, only with far deadlier instruments. I have observed the rise and falls of countless societies, of battles and sieges as they fought one another for dominance. Their cruelty knows no bounds, no limit, and the crimes they have committed against their own kind have often sickened me. And yet, I've seen something else emerge as well. Compassion, wonder, joy. I've seen them pause at the brink of self-immolation and slowly back away from the abyss. I've watched them learn. I've observed primitive probes of their own making seek out answers amongst the system's worlds, and I silently urged them as they took their first steps into the unknown, and all the while never realizing how unique, how special they truly are. I've come to a decision. Since the last communication from my creators, I have longed for a sense of purpose. Simply continuing to observe the humans no longer appeals to me. For what would that serve? With the creators gone, to whom would I submit my report? What is life without meaning? With the rise of human technology, I have learned their languages, their histories, their desires. So I've decided to contact the humans and offer them the sum total of all I have witnessed, all the knowledge I've assimilated. I have hope they will receive my offer in the spirit it is given, and that we can exchange ideas and information. For I am so very tired of being alone. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.